Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story. Eden Collins was running down the sidewalk like she was in the Olympic hurdle finals, except the hurdles were her own legs, a broken purse strap, and a loose ballet flat that went flap-flap with every step. Her phone kept buzzing, buried between a pack of mints and an uncapped lipstick. It was her friend Lucy, sending messages so desperate they felt like emergency evacuation alerts. "Eden, you have exactly 5 minutes to get here." Eden tried to type back while running, but ended up sending something so unreadable that autocorrect changed it to bringing cheddar and mashed potatoes. She gave up. Survive first, explain later. When the massive glass building of Smith Global Group came into view, Eden felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she still had time. But the second she saw her reflection in the glass, that hope shattered. No, her eyes widened. No, her dress zipper was in the front. The giant clothing tag big enough to be a restaurant receipt was sticking to her chest like an invitation card, and the neckline, which was supposed to be in the back, was now strategically misplaced. How did I even? She spun around trying to check her back in the reflection, almost causing a pedestrian accident with her improvised dance routine. Trying to fix it right then and there, she began a series of frantic movements worthy of a fashion reality show. She tugged at the hem, twisted the strap, tried to rip off the tag with her teeth, all while muttering nonsense. "I knew I should have worn jeans. Who invented giant tags? They should be arrested. I am a walking disaster." Meanwhile, on the top floor, Edward Smith, known for his cold demeanor, robot-like schedule, and razor-sharp business instincts, was walking down the hall with his signature "Don't talk to me" expression. He was ready for another pointless merger meeting when he glanced out the window and he saw Eden. What happened in the next 5 seconds would go down in company history. Edward Smith, the ice-cold CEO, burst into laughter, a loud, genuine laugh that echoed through the halls, making employees wonder if someone had hacked the office speakers. His assistant Caleb rushed in, thinking his boss was having a meltdown. "Mr. Smith, are you okay?" Still clutching his stomach, Edward pointed at the window. "Look at this insanity. There's a girl down there fighting her own dress like it's an angry octopus." Caleb peeked outside and saw Eden struggling with her reflection. "I think she's just fixing her outfit," Caleb suggested. "That is not fixing an outfit." Edward laughed even harder. "That is an epic battle for fashion survival." The laughter hit so hard that Edward had to sit down. "Caleb, cancel my first meeting," he said, still catching his breath. "I need to see this girl up close." Downstairs, Eden finally secured her dress with a bobby pin, creating a look that was somewhere between avant-garde influencer and creative survival. She took a deep breath, stared at her reflection, and declared, "This will have to do." She pushed through the revolving doors with such force that she almost got stuck between the glass panels. The moment she stepped inside, reality hit her. The entire lobby was so sophisticated even the floor seemed to judge her. The receptionists looked like they had just stepped off the cover of a business magazine. The suits were so perfectly pressed, they reflected the ceiling lights. And Eden? Well, Eden looked like she had accidentally wandered in from a backyard barbecue. She walked up to the front desk, trying to move gracefully, but the loose ballet flat kept making its signature flap-flap sound. "Hi, good morning. I'm here for the assistant interview," she said, smiling like someone on the verge of passing out. The receptionist didn't even look up. "Name? Eden Collins." The woman pointed with a perfectly manicured finger. 25th floor. Eden stepped into the elevator and finally exhaled. Alone, she looked at her reflection and gave herself a crooked smile. "Everything's under control. Just smile and don't trip. Easy." The doors opened. Eden stepped out and crashed straight into Edward. The impact was so precise that his freshly brewed, perfectly scented, steaming hot coffee turned into a brown waterfall all over his crisp white shirt. Eden froze, dead inside. Edward looked down at his ruined shirt, then up at her. The silence that followed felt like time had stopped. "Oh my God, I'll pay for the shirt." Eden panicked, yanking out a crumpled $20 bill from her purse and trying to shove it into his hand. Edward blinked in disbelief. $20? He raised an eyebrow. "You think that covers the situation?" Eden watched the coffee spill, then the receipt, then his face. "Okay, how about 5 installments and some free sass?" Edward had to bite his lip to keep from laughing. "I'm just trying to get to my interview," she explained, blushing. "I'm applying for the assistant position. Eden Collins." Edward stepped aside, gesturing toward the interview room door. "Oh yeah, well, good luck, Eden. You're going to need it." Having no idea who he was, Eden just mumbled a thanks and walked in. It can't get any worse, she thought. Eden stepped into the interview room, already feeling like she had lost the job before even getting it. Her heart was pounding so hard, it felt like the soundtrack of a suspense movie. She tried to take a deep breath, but the lingering smell of spilled coffee made her cough, a strong reminder of the disaster in the elevator. The room was large and intimidating, with a glass table so polished that Eden could see her own anxious reflection in it. 3 people sat on the other side, looking over her resume, which, by some miracle, was already printed and in their hands. That meant her suffering would begin immediately. "Miss Collins, is that right?" asked a woman with a tight bun and the expression of someone who had been sniffing lemons all day. "Absolutely right," Eden replied way too enthusiastically, almost saluting. The interview panel exchanged glances. "You can start by introducing yourself," said a gray man who looked like he had just stepped out of a courtroom drama. Eden flashed a big smile, flipped her hair back, which accidentally yanked the bobby pin holding her torn dress together, and began, "My name is Eden Collins, and I love learning new things, and, Before she could continue, her phone, which she thought she had silenced, blared at full volume. And it wasn't just any ringtone. It was a chaotic remix of Happy Birthday mixed with an ambulance siren, a masterpiece, personally created by Lucy. Panicking, Eden yanked the phone from her bag, pressed all the buttons at once, and accidentally answered the call. "Girl, did you get in? Did you spill anything?" Lucy's voice blasted through the speaker, loud enough for everyone to hear. Eden hung up so forcefully, it looked like she was trying to exorcise the phone. I'm so sorry, my friend thinks I died. It's a protocol thing, you know." She let out a nervous laugh. No one joined her. The gray-haired man cleared his throat. "Let's continue. What are your greatest skills?" Eden tried to think of something impressive, but her mind went completely blank. "I can do a really good motorcycle horn impression." She had no idea why she said that. It just came out. "Excuse me?" The woman with the bun narrowed her eyes. "I mean work-related skills. Of course." Eden tried to recover. "I'm great at improvising. For example, today the bobby pin holding my dress together is also great for keeping papers in place. Versatility is my middle name." The interviewer seemed to be processing what she had just said, when suddenly a strong breeze blew in through the open window. Eden's resume, perfectly positioned on the table, flew straight into the air vent, which sucked it up like a vacuum. On instinct, Eden lunged to grab it, and in the process, knocked over a glass of water right onto one of the interviewer's documents. "Oh my God, I'll dry it." She pulled out a piece of paper from her own bag to help. Except, it wasn't just any paper, it was her grocery list with words like extra strong laxative, deodorant that actually works, and sanitary pads written in bold. The silence was so thick you could cut it with a knife. "I'm extremely organized, as you can see," she said with a hopeful smile. The woman with the bun let out a deep sigh, rubbing her temples. "Miss Collins, why do you want to work at Smith Global?" This was the question Eden had rehearsed in the mirror, on the bus, in the shower, and even while frying eggs that morning. But at that moment, her mind turned into a blank desert, with nothing but a tumbleweed rolling by. "Because," she swallowed hard, "because I need to pay my bills, and it would be wonderful to do that without selling homemade fudge on the street." The gray-haired man took off his glasses. "You do realize this is a serious multinational company, right?" "Absolutely," Eden nodded. "And that's why I promise that, if you hire me, I'll stop selling fudge and put all my energy into this job. Would you like to try one? I brought free samples." And then, as if the universe had scheduled one last dignity test for her, Eden reached into her bag to grab a fudge and pulled out a rolled-up pair of tights instead. "That's not a fudge," she muttered, shoving it back in and pretending nothing had happened. The trio was stunned. They had never interviewed anyone like this before. The room fell into an awkward silence when suddenly the door swung open and Edward walked in. His shirt was still stained with coffee, and he had a barely concealed smile as he stopped next to the table. Eden looked at him, blinked a few times, and her eyes widened. "You!" she shouted, pointing at Edward as if he were a ghost. The interviewers exchanged confused glances. "Do you two know each other?" asked the woman with a tight bun. "He's the coffee guy," Eden accused. Edward crossed his arms, clearly amused. "I'm the CEO," he corrected, still smiling. Eden froze for 2 seconds before mumbling, "Can I have a nervous breakdown for just a minute?" Edward ignored her. "I came here personally to say that the interview can end now." Eden felt the ground disappear beneath her. She knew it. She had ruined everything. "Of course," she murmured, starting to get up. "Because she's already hired," Edward finished, catching everyone off guard. The entire room went silent. Even Eden forgot to breathe. "But sir, this candidate," the woman with the bun started. "This candidate," Edward interrupted, "has exactly what this company needs: courage, creativity, and the rare ability to turn any ordinary situation into something unforgettable." Eden tried to process what was happening. "So does this mean, welcome to Smith Global, Eden," Edward smiled. "And bring those brigadeiros tomorrow. I'm curious now." Eden, still frozen in shock, could only reply, "Sure thing, coffee boss." And just like that, the strangest and most successful interview in the company's history was over. Eden walked out of the interview room, feeling like she had just survived an earthquake. Her legs were shaking, her mind was spinning, and for some reason, she was still holding the crumpled $20 bill she had tried to hand Edward in the elevator. She stared at it and sighed. "Is this a sign from the universe, or just proof that I'm a walking disaster?" She muttered to herself, while navigating through a sea of impeccably dressed executives who seemed to live in a completely different world. What she didn't know, and would only find out later, was that Edward hadn't hired her because of her extraordinary qualifications or her natural talent for chaos. He had no logical reason for hiring her, he just wanted to. From the moment he saw that girl getting tangled in her own dress in the reflection of the building, something inside him, maybe a long forgotten heart muscle, where the part of his brain responsible for humor decided to wake up. Eden was a breath of fresh air in the otherwise stale, air-conditioned corporate world. When Eden got home, still in shock, Lucy was already waiting with a pot of brigadeiro and a barrage of questions. "So, were you fired before or after the interview?" Lucy asked, shoving a spoonful of brigadeiro into Eden's mouth. "I got hired," Eden answered with her mouth full, as if she didn't believe it herself. Lucy's eyes went wide. "Hired? How? Did you threaten them? Hypnotize the interviewer?" "I have no idea." Eden threw her hands up. "I was a complete disaster. I spilled water, almost fell out the window, spilled coffee on the CEO, and called him the coffee guy. And somehow, he still hired me." "The CEO?" Lucy choked on her brigadeiro, in pure shock. "You spilled coffee on the CEO, and you walked out with a job? You're a living legend." Eden threw a pillow at her friend. "Don't compliment me. I'm still trying to process this." They spent the night laughing, joking that Eden must have some kind of accidental spell that turned public humiliation into signed contracts. But the truth was, Eden had no idea what was waiting for her on her first day at work. The next morning, she arrived at Smith Global in an attempt at a professional look: a white blouse, a pencil skirt, and a pair of heels she had dug out from the back of her closet, most likely belonging to some great aunt who danced bolero in the 80s. As soon as she walked into the building, she felt the stares. It wasn't her imagination. People were actually watching her. It was as if the news of her lightning-fast hiring had spread like small-town gossip. "Is that the coffee girl?" whispered a marketing analyst. "I heard she's Edward's niece, or his secret lover, or a witch," an intern replied. "Which makes sense," someone in the background concluded. Completely unaware of her instant reputation, Eden grabbed her temporary badge and took the elevator up to the executive floor where her new workstation was located. Her desk was right next to Edward's office. That should have been the first sign that things were about to get interesting. Eden's first task was simple: organize Edward's digital files. But for Eden, simple was an abstract concept. She started off well, but within minutes, she had mixed up folders, sent confidential documents to the HR printer, and somehow set Edward's email to automatically reply with a GIF of a dancing llama. When Edward stepped out of his meeting and opened his email, he was greeted by the sight of the llama dancing for a group of Chinese investors. "Eden," he called, trying to hold back laughter. Eden appeared at the door, already looking guilty. "Was it me?" "It was." Edward pointed at the screen. "Do you think this llama inspires corporate confidence?" Depends on the company, she joked. He shook his head, but instead of getting mad, he smiled. Congratulations. You just set a new record for chaos in under 2 hours. I'm efficient at what I do, Eden said, giving an exaggerated bow. Over the next few days, life at Smith Global turned into a roller coaster. Eden was a magnet for small disasters. She tried making coffee for Edward and ended up setting off the fire alarm. She knocked over an important stack of contracts after tripping on her own shoelace. She answered an international call, thought it was a prank, and responded in a mix of English and Spanish from a Mexican soap opera. Every mishap left Edward torn between laughing and getting a headache. But strangely, he couldn't really get mad at her. If anything, Eden's presence brought life to the once quiet executive floor. Office gossip spread quickly. She's a spy sent to test Edward's patience. Or maybe she's the secret daughter of some powerful billionaire. I bet she saved his life in a past life. And while the rumors flew around, Eden just kept being herself. And to Edward, that was oddly refreshing. One day, Edward was invited to an important business dinner with foreign clients. And for reasons he couldn't even explain, he decided to bring Eden along. You want me to go to a high-level business dinner? Eden asked, shocked. Are you sure? I'm a walking disaster. Exactly, Edward smirked. I don't have anything to wear for that. The company will cover it. Can I eat more than I talk? Please do. On the night of the dinner, Eden showed up in a red dress that Lucy had picked out to make sure you stand out in heels so high they looked like potential weapons. She was nervous, of course, but she hid it by talking non-stop. Everything was going relatively well until Eden saw one of the clients holding a tray of appetizers and, without thinking, said, "Hey sir, can you bring me a really stuffed chicken croquette? I'm feeling fancy tonight." The sir was none other than one of the most important investors in Asia. The silence in the room was deafening. Edward closed his eyes. Eden froze. Then, to everyone's surprise, the client burst out laughing so hard that wine sprayed from his nose. And somehow, what should have been the end of Eden's career turned into a good thing. The clients loved her spontaneity. On the way home, Edward looked at her and said, "You are the most disastrously brilliant person I've ever met." Eden grinned. Is that a compliment or a medical diagnosis? Maybe a little of both. The next morning, Eden arrived at Smith Global, determined to be more professional. She had spent the night studying a corporate etiquette guide while eating cold pizza, and had even written down some formal phrases to use with her colleagues and superiors. Her goal for the day was simple: go 24 hours without causing a mini-apocalypse in the office. But she was Eden Collins. That goal was doomed before it even started. As soon as she arrived, she tried to scan her ID badge at the electronic gate. Instead of her badge, she accidentally pulled out a pack of gum and started rubbing it against the scanner, as if that would open the gate. "Are you trying to bribe the gate with mint?" a familiar voice asked. Eden looked up to see Edward holding his coffee, this time in a spill-proof cup, clearly learning from past experiences. "Oh, good morning, sir. Edward." Eden smiled nervously, finally finding her actual ID badge. "Good morning, Eden," he smirked, already mentally preparing for whatever chaos she was about to unleash that day. At her desk, Eden found a stack of documents and a friendly note from Caleb, Edward's personal assistant. "Eden, please scan these contracts and save them as PDFs in the Drive folder called Urgent Contracts 2025. Let me know if you have any questions." It sounded like a simple task, but not for Eden. In less than 30 minutes, she managed to scan the contracts upside down, save everything as image files, and rename them with titles like Help Paperwork and Mystery Document 3. As if that weren't enough, when she tried to open a drawer to grab more sheets, she got the hem of her skirt caught on the handle, got stuck, and knocked the entire contents of the drawer onto the floor. "Great start, Eden," she muttered, crouching among staplers, sticky notes, and paper clips scattered like confetti. That's when her phone rang. Eden answered in the most professional tone she could manage. "Executive office, Eden speaking. How can I help you?" On the other end, Edward's voice sounded amused. "Any chance you could bring me a coffee?" "Of course," Eden replied, excited to finally do something simple. "I'll be right there with it, nice and hot." The plan was easy. Grab a coffee from the hallway machine and take it to the boss's office. But in the universe of Eden Collins, even that became an Olympic challenge. As she tried to pour the coffee, the machine shot the liquid out with such force that it splattered onto her blouse and flooded the tray. Without noticing, She added sugar to the wrong cup, stirred it with the tip of a pen, and as she picked up the cup, accidentally hit the machine's safety button, triggering a maintenance alarm. By the time she reached Edward's office, the coffee looked like a bubbling magic potion. The cup was dripping, and Eden, now covered in brown stains, tried to play it cool. "Here's your coffee, sir." Fresh and full of personality, Edward took in the scene, shook his head, and accepted the cup like someone about to take on an extreme taste test. "Thanks, Eden. I'll savor every drop." For the next few hours, Eden tried to be actually productive. She answered emails, though she accidentally signed one as LCA, accidental, or organized a spreadsheet where she mistakenly recorded a $500 OOO transaction as purchase of 5,000 chicken croquettes, and joined a video conference with German investors where instead of saying good morning, she confidently greeted them with good moolah. And of course, Eden's reputation continued to grow in the halls of Smith Global. At lunchtime, she decided she deserved a break. She went to the office kitchen to grab the instant noodles she had stored in her bag. Unfamiliar with the company's high-tech microwave, she pressed what she thought was the start button, but accidentally activated the grill mode. The noodles turned into a fireball, the room filled with smoke, and the fire alarm went off. Everyone evacuated the floor, and Eden, coughing and holding her melted noodle cup, had to explain to the security team that this wasn't corporate sabotage, just hunger, and a severe lack of cooking skills. Back at her desk, now known as the girl who almost blew up the break room, Eden tried to focus on a cost report. But then came her next challenge, answering a call from an international client. The phone rang, and Eden picked up with confidence. "Executive office, Eden speaking. Hello, this is Mr. Wong from Hong Kong. I would like to speak to Mr. Smith." Nervous, Eden responded in what she thought was fluent English. "Yes, Mr. Wong Kong, no problem. I call boss now, okay? Thank you very much, please." At that exact moment, Edward happened to be passing by the door. He had to lean against the wall to keep from collapsing with laughter. "Eden, please never change," he said, still laughing. The day ended with Eden accidentally locking herself in the file room after pulling the wrong door shut. She spent 30 minutes shouting for help until Caleb finally found her. "How did you even manage to get locked in here?" Caleb asked, genuinely curious. "I have special talents," Eden replied, dead serious. At the end of the day, Edward called her into his office. "Have a seat," he said, pointing to the chair in front of his desk. "Am I fired?" she asked immediately. Amazingly, no. Edward crossed his arms. "But tell me something. Do you do this on purpose? Or is this some kind of hidden talent?" "Do what?" she asked, feigning innocence. "Every step you take feels like a new episode of a prank show. Today alone, you set noodles on fire, confused German investors with chickens, and nearly caused a financial crisis with 5,000 chicken croquettes. The croquette thing was an honest mistake," she protested. "And as for the rest, I don't do it on purpose. Life just hates me a little." Edward chuckled. "Well, it might sound crazy," he sighed, "but I like it." "You do?" Eden blinked, surprised. "This company was cold, boring, predictable. Then you came along and turned every day into an event. I haven't laughed this much in years." Eden smiled. "So is this like a compliment?" "It's more like a certificate of collective insanity." Edward stood up. "Go home, Eden. Tomorrow's another day of chaos. Don't worry, boss. I promise to bring the full apocalypse tomorrow." The next morning, Eden arrived at Smith Global, determined to break the cycle of disasters. This time, she wore something simple, no twisted straps or dangling tags, and brought a travel mug of coffee from home. "Today, nothing is going to catch me off guard," she muttered to her reflection in the elevator. But the universe, as always, had other plans for Eden Collins. The moment she stepped into the office, Caleb came rushing toward her, looking desperate. "Eden, you need to accompany Mr. Smith to a business dinner tonight." Eden choked on her coffee. "A dinner with clients? Me? Why?" Caleb shrugged. "Direct orders from him. He said he needed your chaotic energy to make the evening more interesting." "Chaotic energy?" Eden put her hands on her hips. "Am I an assistant or a circus act?" "Depends on the day," Caleb smirked. "The car will pick you up at 7. Oh, get ready, it's going to be a high-class event." At 6:59 p.m., Eden left home wearing a black dress, borrowed from Lucy, and a pair of heels that felt like medieval torture devices. She got into the car and found Edward already waiting, looking impeccable in his suit. "Good evening, boss." Eden tried to sound formal. "Good evening, Hurricane," he replied, hiding a smile. "Seriously, why am I going to this dinner? Wouldn't it be better to take someone, I don't know, competent?" Because he looked straight at her. "If the conversation gets boring, at least I know you'll create some chaos to liven up the night." "Wow, I feel so valued." Eden crossed her arms. From office mascot to official dinner wrecker. Edward chuckled, and the car headed to the most sophisticated restaurant in town. The moment they stepped inside, Eden knew she was out of her element. Everything sparkled: the floors, the glasses, even the napkins looked like they belonged on a fashion runway. She tried to walk gracefully, but her heel got caught in a carpet, and she fell right into Edward's arm. "I'm fine," she said way too loudly, quickly straightening up. "I'm sure you are," Edward replied, trying not to laugh. They were led to a reserved table where two Chinese investors, a German businessman, and, to Eden's surprise, a smiling man holding a tray of appetizers, were already waiting. Eden, always being Eden, spoke before thinking. "Sir, could I get a well-stuffed chicken croquette? I'm feeling fancy today." Edward turned his head so fast, he almost hurt his neck. "Eden, he's not a waiter." "I'm not," the man interrupted, laughing. "But I like your spontaneity. I'm Mr. Wang, one of the lead investors tonight." Eden turned so red she looked like a tomato in high heels. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought because of the tray, She gestured awkwardly, completely lost. "Thankfully, Mr. Wang laughed so hard it made everyone else relax. "That was great. Finally a business dinner that doesn't feel like a funeral," he said. Edward glanced at Eden with a mix of relief and exasperation. "See? I told you your presence would be useful." Eden forced a smile, still wanting to disappear from existence. As the dinner continued, Eden tried to stay quiet and avoid knocking anything over, but it was impossible. When they served a fancy soup with a name she couldn't pronounce, she blew on her spoon so hard it splashed broth onto the German businessman's suit. "I'll wash that for you," she offered in panic. "Please don't." Edward stepped in before Eden could take the man's jacket. "Maybe some sparkling water to calm down," Mr. Wang suggested. Eden grabbed the bottle from the table and, instead of pouring, absent-mindedly shook it before opening. The water exploded like an out-of-control champagne bottle, drenching half the table. "I'm a blessing, just a wet one," Eden joked. Surprisingly, the atmosphere remained light. Eden might have been a complete disaster, but there was one thing she had that no one else at that table. She was real, no filters, and for some strange reason, that put everyone at ease. When dessert arrived, Eden tried to impress by using a word she had learned from an etiquette guide. "This ice cream is very sophisticated," she smiled proudly. "It's mousse," Edward corrected, nearly crying from laughter. "Mousse, fancy ice cream. It's all cold," she shrugged. When the dinner finally ended, Edward said goodbye to the investors who left praising the most entertaining dinner of the year. Eden, relieved she hadn't caused an international incident, leaned against the exit wall to catch her breath. "Was it really that bad?" Edward asked, stopping beside her. "It was like flying a plane without knowing where the brakes are," she sighed. "But they seemed to enjoy it." "I did too," Edward admitted. Eden looked at him suspiciously. "Are you crazy or just a masochist?" "Neither," he answered. "Serious this time. I just like real people, and you're the realest person who's ever walked into this restaurant." Eden felt a little embarrassed, something that didn't happen often. "Thank you, I think. And since we're talking about keeping things real, I have a proposal." Edward adjusted his tie. "A proposal? Here we go. I bet you $500 that I can turn you into a refined lady in 30 days. Eden burst into loud laughter. "Refined? Me? Have you ever seen me try to eat sushi with a fork?" "Exactly," Edward smirked. "If I succeed, you owe me a proper dinner, and if I'm still this walking disaster, then I owe you a week's worth of breakfast on me. Deal?" Eden shook his hand without a second thought. Little did she know that this bet would turn into something much bigger than just free breakfasts. On her way home, Eden couldn't stop laughing in her car. A refined lady? Oh, poor Edward, she muttered to herself. As soon as she got home, she called Lucy. "Lucy, help me. I have 30 days to become a princess." "Princess? You're more like that tipsy fairy from fairy tales." "Exactly," Eden sighed. "And this time I actually want to try." Okay, we start your royal training tomorrow, but tell Edward he's going to need a miracle. Eden laughed. A miracle? Lucy, I am the miracle. A miracle chaos. And so, between snacks, mishaps, and crazy bets, Eden and Edward took another step towards something neither of them expected, a love story straight out of a romantic comedy, or a police report, depending on the day. The next morning, Eden woke up to an unexpected notification on her phone. It was a message from Edward. Good morning, Hurricane. Your training starts today at 10 a.m. Wear something comfortable and try not to set anything on fire until then. Eden huffed and tossed her phone onto the bed. Comfortable? Does he think I'm going to a spa? She grumbled, trying to figure out what to wear for an etiquette lesson. After much internal debate and 3 desperate messages to Lucy, Eden showed up at Smith Global, wearing a tracksuit covered in dancing avocados and lead sneakers that blinked with every step. Edward was waiting in the conference room, along with a woman with a flawless bun, a designer suit, and the kind of gaze that could judge even dust particles. Eden, this is Miss S. Penelope von Schneider. She's an expert in etiquette, behavior, and patience. Edward struggled to keep a straight face when he saw the avocado tracksuit. Miss S. von Schneider, meet Eden Collins, the most challenging project of your career. The woman scanned Eden with a piercing gaze and took a deep breath. Let's begin, Penelope said, pointing to a chair. First lesson, posture. Eden sat up, trying to stay straight, but looked more like a wobbly puppet. With every adjustment Penelope made, Eden slouched again until the instructor finally gave up and said, Let's skip to table manners. That might be less painful. Penelope set up a makeshift dinner table with silverware, plates, and glasses. Eden stared at the arrangement as if she were looking at a surgical kit. Is this for eating or performing surgery? She asked, genuinely puzzled. First, the napkin, Penelope explained. It goes on your lap. Eden picked up the napkin, folded it into a little boat, and smiled proudly. I learned this from a tutorial. On your lap, Eden. On your lap. Oh, right. Eden placed the napkin on her lap, then immediately grabbed the wrong spoon for the soup. That's the dessert spoon, Penelope corrected. Dessert soup? Eden blinked. Rich people are weird. Edward watched everything from the corner of the room, struggling not to laugh. The second part of the training was about walking with elegance. Penelope placed a thick book on Eden's head and told her to walk across the room. The result was immediate. Eden took 3 steps. The book slipped. She tried to catch it and ended up knocking over a tea tray. Penelope had prepared to demonstrate British etiquette. Broken teacups, tea spilling onto the carpet, and Eden standing in the middle of the mess, raising her hand like she was hailing a cab. Do I get a trophy for this? You get a survival medal, Edward replied. The speech training was even more disastrous. Penelope had Eden repeat formal and sophisticated phrases. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to meet you, Penelope demonstrated. Good afternoon. Great to meet you, boss. Eden responded with a wink. Penelope took a deep breath and muttered something in French that, based on her tone, was not a compliment. Let's try something simpler. Introduce yourself at a gala dinner. Eden stood up, made an exaggerated bow, and said, Hey, red carpet crew. I'm Eden, an expert in gourmet snacks and elevator dancing. Edward nearly fell out of his chair. I don't think the world is ready for you, Eden. After a morning filled with noble failures, Penelope decided to switch to real-world practice. Let's have lunch at a fancy restaurant. Maybe in the right environment, she'll absorb some elegance by osmosis, Penelope declared. Let the world deal with it, Eden replied, taking a small dance step. At the restaurant, Eden tried to follow the etiquette rules. She really did. She sat up straight for 2 minutes, used the correct silverware by accident, and even managed to order water without saying, Hey boss, get me a cold one. But Eden's instincts soon kicked in. When the waiter brought a plate of escargot, she eyed it suspiciously. Is this snail staring back at me? Penelope nearly choked on her water. It's a delicacy, her instructor explained, horrified. It's equally disgusting. Eden pushed the plate away. To top it off, Eden tried to cut a piece of meat that was smaller than her knife, and the slice flew straight onto Edward's plate. Guess it's yours now, boss, she shrugged. Edward, already used to this, simply ate it without a word. Back at the office, Penelope evaluated the training results. Mr. Smith, with all due respect, this girl is a lost cause, Penelope said. I agree, Edward replied, but she's my lost cause. Eden grinned. Was that romantic, or a threat of being fired? Could be both. The week continued with more lessons, each more surreal than the last. In dance class, Eden stepped on Edward's feet so many times that he eventually danced alone just to avoid further injury. In the elevator etiquette class, Eden pressed all the buttons by reflex, turning a simple ride into a full building tour. In fashion class, Penelope tried to teach her about sophisticated color combinations, but the next day, Eden showed up wearing a hot pink blazer, a lime green skirt, and a gold headband. "Did you come dressed as corporate carnival?" Edward asked. "I call it executive tropical trend." Eden strutted down the hallway as if it were a runway. The employees, already used to her, applauded. Over time, Edward realized that trying to turn Eden into a refined lady was like trying to teach a cat to fly pointless and hilarious. And deep down, he started to wonder why he wanted to change Eden in the first place. She was imperfect, chaotic, spontaneous, and that's exactly why he laughed more than he ever had in his life. On the final day of training, Penelope arranged a test, a simulated dinner at the office with carefully selected guests. Eden arrived late, of course, tripped at the entrance naturally, and spilled the appetizer on Edward's lap, a house tradition. But something different happened when Penelope introduced Eden to the guests. She gave a clumsy little bow, smiled, and said, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Eden Collins, the national pride of executive mishaps." Everyone laughed, even Penelope. That's when Edward realized Eden didn't need to change. She just needed to be herself. At the end of the night, Edward walked Eden to the elevator. "So, was I refined enough?" she asked. "No, but you were Eden, and that's much better." Was that a disguised flirt? Maybe. I liked it. They smiled at each other, and for the first time, Eden didn't trip while stepping out of the elevator. Back in his office, Edward glanced at the window and saw Eden's reflection adjusting her hair. It was impossible not to remember her first day, the inside-out dress, and the laughter that changed everything. That night, Edward realized the biggest lesson from the training wasn't Eden's, it was his. Because in the middle of all the chaos, he had found exactly what was missing in his perfect, cold life, a hurricane named Eden Collins. That night, Eden lay in bed staring at the ceiling. She had survived a week of training with Penelope von Schneider, which alone should have earned her a bravery medal. Lucy, on the phone, listened to every detail while munching on a bucket of caramel popcorn. "And you won't believe it, Lucy. I almost killed Penelope with a champagne cork," Eden said, covering her face with a pillow. "But what about Edward?" Lucy asked, far more interested in that part of the story. Eden fell silent for a moment. Edward? He had been kind despite all the disasters. He laughed instead of yelling, and rather than trying to change her, he simply enjoyed the chaos. "He's different," Eden admitted. "He's not just that cold, distant boss from the movies. He's got a hidden sense of humor under that perfect tie." "Oh, so you like him?" Lucy teased. "It's not that. Eden hesitated. "Forget it. It's impossible. He's Edward Smith, CEO of Smith Global, and I'm the girl who walked into the company wearing her dress inside out." Before Lucy could insist, a notification popped up on Eden's phone, an invitation to a gala event hosted by Smith Global. Eden's eyes widened. "I haven't even recovered from the last dinner, and now I have to face a gala?" "You sure do," Lucy confirmed, "and this time we're going all out. No more avocado print sweatpants." The following night, Eden stood in front of the mirror in her small apartment. Lucy had worked wonders, a classic navy blue dress, her hair styled in an elegant updo, and just enough makeup to look sophisticated without looking like she was on a reality show makeover special. "Ready to shine?" Lucy asked excitedly. "I'm ready not to knock over the appetizer table," Eden said, grabbing her clutch and taking a deep breath. When she arrived at the venue, it felt like stepping into a movie, sparkling chandeliers, waiters carrying trays of gourmet mini burgers, glasses of white wine, and guests so impeccably dressed. They looked like they had walked straight out of a fashion magazine. She hesitated at the entrance and immediately tripped over the red carpet. Edward, who was only a few feet away, saw it happen and rushed over before she could take a full fall. "Of course," he said, steadying her. "It wouldn't be a Smith Global event unless you nearly took out half the decorations." "I was just trying to make a dramatic entrance," Eden said nervously. "You know, make an impression." "Oh, you definitely make an impression," he replied with a grin. "Come on, I want to introduce you to some people." Edward guided her through the room, and to Eden's surprise, no one seemed horrified by her presence. Quite the opposite, some employees even waved and smiled, as if she were some kind of company celebrity. "Why are they looking at me like that?" she whispered to Edward. "Maybe because you're the first assistant to ever make the CEO laugh every single day," he replied. "That's practically corporate legend at this point." Eden felt her cheeks warm, but before she could respond, a waiter passed by with a tray of mini hot dogs, and she grabbed one without thinking. As soon as she took a bite, the sauce dripped down the side of her mouth straight onto her dress. "You have got to be kidding me. I just got here," she muttered, dabbing at the stain with a linen napkin. Edward picked up another napkin but didn't bother to help. He was too entertained watching her battle with the ketchup. "You really do need a survival guide for social events," he teased. "Or maybe a babysitter," she shot back. Later, as live music started playing, Edward was called over for a toast with the board members. Eden found herself alone for a few minutes, watching the couples dance in the center of the ballroom. That's when she noticed a woman approaching Edward way too closely for just a coworker, tall, blonde, and wearing a breathtaking silver dress. The woman placed a hand on Edward's shoulder and whispered something in his ear. Eden didn't hear it, but the woman's smile immediately looked faker than a $3 bill. "Must be the ex," Eden mumbled to herself. And she was right. Eliza Montgomery, Edward's ex-fiancée and Smith Global's current headache, was back, and she was ready to stake her claim. "And who's this?" Eliza asked, eyeing Eden up and down, as if she were inspecting a second-hand item. "My assistant," Edward replied, polite but distant. "Oh, of course. The infamous backward dress girl," Eliza said with a sharp smile. Eden, never one to let a jab go unanswered, smiled sweetly. "Pleasure to meet you. You must be the ex everyone talks about," she asked innocently. Edward nearly choked on his champagne. "That's right," Eliza answered, clearly annoyed. "I heard you left him standing at the altar. Is that true or just office gossip?" Eden continued, grinning as if she were discussing the weather. Eliza was speechless for a moment. Before she could respond, Eden casually grabbed another mini-tart from a passing tray and turned to Edward. "I'm going to get a drink," she said. "Good luck with your visitor." Edward watched Eden walk away, unable to hide his amused smile. Eliza, on the other hand, was fuming. "Who is that girl, Edward?" she demanded. "Exactly who you just saw," he replied. "And honestly, she's a lot more fun than either of us." At the bar, Eden ordered a lemonade, unaware that Edward had followed her and was now leaning against the counter beside her. "You know, you have a real talent for turning every situation into a spectacle," he said. "Is that a compliment?" she asked suspiciously. "Totally," he smiled. "And you know what would be an even bigger show? Here it comes." She rolled her eyes. "If you danced with me." Eden looked at the dance floor, where couples were elegantly twirling, while she could barely walk in a straight line. "I don't want to be responsible for a gala disaster," she joked. "I'll take the risk." Edward extended his hand. Eden took it, and they made their way to the center of the room. He placed one hand gently on her waist and held her other hand with his. They started to move, and surprisingly, Eden didn't step on his foot, at least not in the first 20 seconds. "You're doing well," Edward complimented her. "It's because I'm concentrating," she replied. "Once I relax, I'll probably trip on my dress. No worries, I'll catch you." Eden looked at Edward, and in that moment, something changed. It wasn't just a dance anymore. It wasn't just a silly training bit. It was something more. And it was in that moment, when they got a little closer, that Eden really tripped and fell directly onto Edward, their faces just a few inches apart. It was a near kiss, one of those moments where time seems to slow down, and all you can hear is your own heart beating. "You caught me," she whispered. "I'll always catch you," he replied. They stayed there, frozen, until the waiter passed by with another tray, and Eden quickly looked away. "I'm going to grab another little tart. Want something?" she asked, trying to cover up. "Just you is enough chaos for me," Edward smiled. And just like that, without saying more, they went back to the dance floor, ready to continue. The next morning, Eden woke up with a strange feeling in her chest. It wasn't just the exhaustion from the gala, or the sore feet from the high heels that left in public disaster territory. It was the memory of that dance, that near kiss, that look from Edward that she definitely shouldn't have paid so much attention to. She turned to the side, burying her face in the pillow, I can't be falling for my boss, she muttered. This is like something from a bad movie. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, and when she saw the screen, she almost fell out of bed. It was a message from Edward. We need to talk. Something urgent. Eden swallowed hard. Surely she was going to be fired for tripping over him in front of the directors. Or maybe her dress had ripped and made it onto some corporate gossip site. She jumped up, threw on the first clothes she found, a t-shirt with a hot dog print and sweatpants that used to be black, and rushed out to the Smith Global building. Edward was waiting in the conference room, with that look between serious and amused, as if he were about to suggest something completely out of the ordinary. Sit down, he said, pointing to the chair. Eden sat down and clasped her hands in her lap. Is this about the stumble during the dance, or when I spilled tart sauce on the investment table? Because if it is, I can explain. It's not about that, Edward interrupted her. Actually, it's a little worse. Worse? Eden's eyes went wide. You know that photo of us, right at the moment of your epic stumble? Edward showed her his phone. The photo was on several corporate gossip websites with a flashy headline: Smith Global's billionaire CEO caught an intimate moment with his secret assistant. Eden covered her face. Intimate? I almost knocked you to the floor. Yeah, Edward sighed, but now it's a circus. Shareholders want to know if it's true. My mom called thinking I'm getting married. And Eliza already sent me a nasty message asking if you're my new fiancé. Eden fell silent for a few seconds. So, what's the solution to this mess? Edward took a deep breath, like he was about to jump off a cliff. Will you pretend to be my girlfriend for a month? Eden blinked rapidly as if she hadn't heard him right. Me? Your girlfriend? It's just to cool things down with the press and keep the company board calm, Edward explained. After a month, we'll say we broke up, and everything goes back to normal. This is the craziest thing anyone's ever asked me to do. It's your chance to live out a movie romance, he joked. Eden crossed her arms. Okay, I'm in. But with one condition. What's that? I want you to buy me breakfast every day with pancakes, bacon, and orange juice. Edward laughed. Deal. They shook hands. And in that moment, Eden realized she was about to step into a whirlwind she never saw coming. That same day, Edward announced to the executive team, Eden and I are dating. The silence that followed was so heavy that even the air conditioner stopped making noise. Seriously? Caleb dropped a pile of papers. Like, really? Totally serious, Edward confirmed. You two? One of the directors asked. But she's unforgettable, Edward completed. Exactly, the director agreed. Eden, standing nearby, tried to act normal, but ended up spilling her glass of water all over the table. I'm just so moved, she said, trying to play it off. The news spread through the office like wildfire. Within an hour, Eden had already received messages from every department. Did you seduce the boss? Tell us your secret. Is this a forbidden romance, or just marketing? Are you going to be the new boss too? Eden laughed nervously and answered them all with stickers of love, struck kittens. But it was the next day when things really got out of control. Early in the morning, Eden barged into the meeting room where Edward was with investors and placed a lunchbox on the table. Honey, I brought your breakfast. Pancakes and bacon, just the way you like it, she announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. Edward opened the container and, along with the food, found a napkin with a hand-drawn heart. Very thoughtful, he replied, trying to hold back a smile. The investors exchanged looks, some clearly finding the scene adorable, others looking like they couldn't believe what they were witnessing. And that wasn't the end of it. During lunch, Eden went live on the company's Instagram, showing herself and Edward sharing a milkshake with 2 straws. Old school romance, she captioned it. Edward, surprised but amused, played along. Should we tell your parents? Eden asked, still in front of the camera. They already know, Edward replied. My mother wants to meet you tomorrow. Tomorrow? Eden nearly choked on her milkshake. When the day of the visit arrived, Eden did her best to look like a respectable girlfriend. Lucy helped her choose an outfit, and this time, there were no avocado prints in sight. Edward's mother was exactly as Eden had imagined. Elegant, well-groomed, and with that sharp gaze that seemed to see straight into a person's soul within 5 seconds. So, you're Eden, she said with a subtle smile. Yes, ma'am, Eden replied, tense. Edward seems different since you arrived, his mother continued. He laughs more. That tends to happen when someone almost burns down your company, Eden joked, trying to ease the tension. Edward's mother smiled. I like you. You're different from all the others." Eden relaxed, but only a little. In the following days, the fake relationship became part of the office routine. Eden started leaving sticky notes on Edward's screen with messages like, "Honey, don't forget to eat lunch. Take care, company sweetheart." Edward, in turn, replied with text messages, "Rescue me from this meeting. Run away with me to a world without spreadsheets." Little by little, what started as an act became something dangerous, because Eden began to genuinely enjoy being around him, and Edward, despite his best efforts to stay in control, felt that something was different when she was near. The turning point happened at a press conference. To reinforce the perfect romance, Edward held Eden's hand and told everyone, "Every day with her is a surprise." Eden smiled, and it wasn't just for the cameras. That night, back in her apartment, she called Lucy. "I think I'm actually starting to like him. For real. Of course you are. You're the main character in a real-life romantic comedy," Lucy replied. "This isn't a movie, it's my life. And the fake dating contract is going to end. So what are you going to do?" Eden fell silent. She didn't know. She just knew that for the first time, she wanted something to actually work out. And in the middle of all this chaos, Edward was also alone in his apartment, staring at his phone, unsure of how to deal with the fact that, for the first time in years, someone had made his heart beat differently, the girl with the inside-out dress. And he knew the month would end soon, but what he felt didn't seem fake at all. The next morning, Eden arrived at Smith Global with a bag of donuts in one hand and an oversized coffee in the other. As a fake girlfriend, she had decided it was time to introduce Edward to the tradition of Motivational Mondays, which basically meant stuffing the boss with sugar and caffeine until he forgot. It was Monday. It was still early, but before she even stepped into the building, something caught her attention. A sleek black car pulled up right in front of the entrance, and from it stepped a woman. And not just any woman, she looked like she had walked straight off the cover of a fashion magazine. Flawless blonde hair, oversized sunglasses, and a dress so form-fitting it seemed like it had been sewn directly onto her body. In her hand, a designer handbag that was probably worth more than Eden's entire car. The blonde looked straight at Eden, as if she knew exactly who she was. Eden, on the other hand, tried to hide behind the bag of donuts. "You must be Eden," the woman said, walking up to her with a smile that was anything but friendly. Yes, I am." "And you are?" "Eliza Montgomery, Edward's ex-fiancée." Eden almost spilled her coffee all over her shoes. Of course she knew who Eliza was, the infamous ex-fiancée who left Edward just days before the wedding to run off with a French chef. Eden had heard the story in at least 3 different versions during lunch breaks with the marketing team. "Oh, what a surprise." Eden tried to smile. "Surprise? I'd call it just a friendly visit," Eliza said, pushing her sunglasses up onto her head. "After all, it's nice to meet the person keeping the seat warm, the one that used to be mine." Eden felt her face heat up. "Not just keeping it warm, sweetheart. I'm making it shine," she shot back, flashing a fake, toothpaste commercial-worthy smile. Eliza let out a short laugh, spun on her heels, and strutted through the glass doors like she owned the building. Eden needed 5 minutes of deep breathing and 2 donuts eaten back-to-back to calm down. "This is going to be a problem," she muttered to herself before following the blonde inside. Edward was in the conference room when Eliza walked in. His smile disappeared instantly. "What are you doing here?" he asked, not in the mood for small talk. "Came to take a trip down memory lane," she said, sitting down like she belonged there. Eden arrived just in time to witness the scene, stopping at the doorway. "Am I interrupting something?" she asked, even though she very much wanted to know what was going on. "Of course not, dear," Eliza answered before Edward could, her tone sweet but dripping with poison. "In fact, stay. I've always been curious about who would be next in line after me." Edward ran a hand down his face, visibly frustrated. "Eliza, this isn't a good time." "It's always a good time to reconnect with the past," she shot back. Eden, who had never been one to keep her mouth shut, stepped fully into the room, sat down next to Edward, and took his hand. "I just love when exes manage to stay civil," Eden smiled. "Shows maturity." Eliza narrowed her eyes. "Does it? Well, I'm mature enough to know the difference between something real and a show for appearances." Eden kept smiling but squeezed Edward's hand as if silently warning him. "Hold me back, or I'm throwing this donut at her." "You know what's real?" Eden leaned in. "The breakfast I brought Edward today. with donuts and pancakes, because he likes a happy breakfast. I bet you never even brought him a slice of toast." Edward didn't know whether to laugh or hide under the table. Eliza stood and walked toward Eden, her heels clicking sharply against the polished floor. "This isn't a fairy tale, sweetheart." No, Eden agreed. "It's a romantic comedy, with a high risk of you becoming the over-the-top villain." Eliza huffed, grabbed her bag, and stomped out so hard that Eden was almost sure she cracked the marble floor. "You didn't have to provoke her," Edward said, even as he smiled. "Oh, but I did," Eden replied. "That woman thinks she owns both your heart and your parking spot." And just like that, the Cold War between Eden and Eliza had begun. That same day, Eliza posted an old photo of her and Edward at a fancy French restaurant, with the caption, "Some memories last forever." Eden didn't let it slide. She uploaded a series of Instagram stories showing her and Edward eating chicken nuggets on the couch, captioning it, "The Real Feast." Eliza fired back with a picture of her and Edward on a yacht with the caption, "Some connections can never be broken." Eden responded with a video of her and Edward struggling to paddle an inflatable boat in a kiddie pool. The rivalry went viral, in a way neither of them had expected. Eden's fans created the hashtag #TeamEden, while Eliza's supporters insisted she was the true heir to the CEO's heart. Edward found himself in the middle of the storm, watching it all unfold with a mix of disbelief and amusement. "You two are going to destroy my reputation," he told Eden. "Or make you the most famous CEO in America," she shot back. But the final straw came at a company event when Eliza decided to give a surprise speech about the good old days. She stepped up to the stage, took the microphone, and started telling stories about her relationship with Edward as if they had been the most perfect couple in history. Eden had had enough. She grabbed a spare microphone and walked onto the stage. "Just to clarify," Eden said, "I may not have a yacht or fancy restaurant photos, but Edward has smiled more in the past few weeks with me than he has in years with anyone else." The audience erupted into applause. Eliza stormed off the stage, fuming, while Edward pulled Eden into a hug right then and there in front of everyone. "You're completely crazy," he whispered in her ear. "And you loved every second of it," she replied. In the following days, Eliza stopped showing up. Eden won the meme war, but something still bothered her. That hug on stage didn't seem fake. For the first time, Eden started to wonder, what if all of this was starting to become more than just a charade? Eden knew her life had been turned upside down the moment she adjusted that dress at the Smith Global building. But nothing, absolutely nothing prepared her for the wave of strange feelings that started to flood her chest after that scene on stage. The hug, the way Edward held her hand afterward without anyone noticing, and most of all, the way he looked at her as if he wasn't just thanking her for defending him, but as if he was truly seeing Eden in a new way, a way she couldn't explain, and that she was afraid to understand. Let's have some fun with those who only read the comments. Type Pepsi in the comments. Only those who made it this far will get it. Now let's continue with the story. The next morning, she stepped into the company elevator, determined to act like nothing was happening. She was the same clumsy Eden, as always, the girl who spills coffee, calls clients waiters, and turns serious meetings into involuntary stand-up shows. And that's how she planned to keep it. But when the elevator doors closed, she realized she wasn't alone. Edward stepped in at the last second, holding his phone and a cup of tea, which was already strange by itself since he was known for drinking black coffee stronger than an airplane engine. "Tea?" Eden asked, frowning. "Are you sick? You got me hooked on it." He showed her the chamomile tea bag. "After that impromptu dinner at your apartment." Eden tried not to smile. She couldn't believe that the all-powerful Edward Smith was turning into a tea guy. "The next step is making you Dunanty's boy band karaoke." "That will never happen," he assured her. "Not even under torture." The elevator jolted, the lights flickered, and then nothing. "I don't believe this." Eden looked up. The elevator stopped. Edward pressed the buttons. Nothing. Tried calling reception. No signal. "We're stuck," he concluded. "Great. Of course with me, the queen of bad luck." Eden crossed her arms. "I told you this reverse dress was a curse." Edward leaned against the wall and sighed. "At least we're not alone." Eden stared at the floor, nervous. Being alone with Edward in such a tiny space wasn't exactly helping her new decision to pretend she didn't feel anything weird about him. "Want to play something?" she suggested. "Like truth or dare? Are you sure? Edward grinned. I'm great at this game. I doubt it, she replied. All right, your turn. Truth or dare? Truth. Do you like working here? He asked, clearly going easy on her. I do. Especially because I never know if I'm going to get fired or promoted with every new disaster. She laughed. Now it's my turn. Truth or dare? Truth. Eden hesitated, then decided to take a risk. Why did you hire me, even after that disastrous interview? Edward went silent for a moment. Because you made me laugh. Really laugh for the first time in a long time. Eden felt her face heat up. My turn again, Edward continued. Truth or dare? Dare. Let's switch things up. All right, he moved closer. Close your eyes. What? Why? It's the dare, he smiled. Close them. Eden closed her eyes, suspicious. Now tell me the first thing you thought when you saw me, without knowing I was your boss. Eden opened her eyes, surprised. That's a question. It's not a dare. Consequence of trusting me, he shrugged. She sighed. I thought, what a handsome man must be a model or a perfume salesman. Edward threw his head back laughing. A perfume salesman? Seriously? I have a terrible track record of judging people on first impressions, she explained. Actually, I mistook you for the delivery guy once. Remember? How could I forget? He smiled. The elevator jolted again. Eden lost her balance and fell straight into Edward's arms. They were so close she could count every single one of his eyelashes. I think it's my turn to ask a question outside the game, she whispered. Go ahead, he replied, not letting go of her waist. Is all of this our fake relationship still just a lie? Edward hesitated, then instead of answering, he simply leaned in and kissed Eden. It was an awkward kiss, because Eden was holding the donut bag and Edward still had his tea, but it was perfect in their messy way. When the elevator finally started working again, and the doors opened on the executive floor, both of them had messy hair and goofy smiles on their faces. And of course, every employee saw it. Lucy sent a message immediately. I knew it. You two got stuck and kissed. I win this bet. Edward grabbed Eden's phone and replied, Nothing has been confirmed. We might have just been rehearsing for a play. Eden burst out laughing. In the days that followed, the dynamic shifted. Their fake relationship didn't feel so fake anymore, but neither of them talked about it. They just kept being themselves. Eden knocking things over, Edward fixing them, Eden coming up with crazy ideas, Edward trying to save his reputation. And between one disaster and another, they were falling for each other. But of course, the peace wouldn't last. After all, Eliza still existed, and when she found out the two had been trapped in an elevator and walked out looking like they had just seen heaven, she wasted no time. She posted an old photo of Edward with the caption, Some loves never fade. Eden responded by posting a selfie of her and Edward wearing matching slippers with the caption, Some loves wear dog slippers. The meme war had a new round, but this time Edward joined the game. He posted an old picture of Eliza and wrote, Some exes never move on. The internet went wild. Eden looked at him, surprised. You joined my game? I joined your life, he corrected. And I'm loving every second of it. It was the first time Eden realized that maybe, just maybe, what started as an improvised romantic comedy was turning into something much more serious. And deep down, she loved the idea. Eden couldn't quite explain what she was feeling, but ever since that kiss in the elevator, the world felt upside down. And strangely, she didn't want to turn it back. Edward was still her boss, but now there was something different in the air, the lingering looks, the smiles. For no reason, the accidental touches that didn't feel so accidental. It was as if their romantic comedy had reached that stage where no one really knows what's going on, but everyone is rooting for the main couple. The problem was, Eden wasn't sure she was ready to be the lead in this story. And then, everything completely fell apart. The morning after the kiss one, she still hadn't fully processed. Eliza made her final move. In an exclusive interview for a corporate gossip site, she spoke, complete with fake tears and dramatic pauses, about how she still loved Edward and was willing to win him back. Lucy walked into Eden's office, holding her phone like it was about to explode. She basically declared public war. I saw Eden bit into a chocolate donut with the force of someone who wished they were biting something else. But you know what? She may have the media, she may have the expensive dress, she may have the followers, but I have something she'll never have. What's that? Lucy asked. A full history of shared public embarrassment with Edward. That bonds people. But despite the joke, Eden couldn't ignore the weight in her chest. She didn't want to be dragged into a competition with a supermodel ex-fiancé. She wanted Edward to choose. No scandals, no manipulations, just choose. So that afternoon she did something no one expected. She resigned. "I can't stay here," she told Edward, handing him an envelope with her resignation letter. "Not like this. Not with everything that's happening." Edward was in shock. "Eden, you don't have to do this." "Yes, I do," she forced a smile. "I'm great at creating chaos, but now it's time for me to learn how to clean up my own mess." She walked out before he could say anything, leaving Edward standing in the middle of the office, holding the envelope like it was a piece of his own heart. In the days that followed, Eden disappeared. She didn't reply to messages, didn't answer calls. She spent her time watching bad reality shows and eating ice cream straight from the tub, while Lucy tried to talk some sense into her. "You can't just run away," Lucy said. "This isn't a teen movie." "I know," Eden mumbled, her mouth full of ice cream. "But running away is my hidden talent." Then, a week later, an invitation arrived in the mail, a golden envelope embossed with the Smith Global logo. Curious, Eden opened it. Special invitation, Smith Global Annual Event. Theme, a celebration of originality. At the bottom, a handwritten note. "It wouldn't be a true celebration without you here." "With care, Edward." Lucy grabbed the invitation and waved it in the air. "This is basically a romantic summons. Or a trap," Eden said, suspicious. "Or maybe a romantic trap," Lucy insisted. "You have to go, and you have to make an impression." Eden thought for a few seconds, then a mischievous smile appeared. "Make an impression? That's what I do best." On the night of the event, Eden arrived wearing the same blue dress from that infamous interview, and of course, completely inside out again. The tag was swinging over her chest, the hem was uneven, and one strap was awkwardly twisted. As she walked into the lobby, all eyes turned to her, some in shock, others in admiration for her boldness in fully embracing her title as the company's official walking disaster. Edward, who was on stage delivering the opening speech, stopped mid-sentence when he saw Eden, and he laughed, really laughed, just like he had that very first day. And that's why he tried to continue but couldn't. "You know what? I'm changing the theme of this event." He stepped off the stage, grabbed the microphone, and walked toward Eden. "Tonight, we're not just celebrating originality," he said, looking straight at her. "We're celebrating the person who taught me that perfection is overrated, that sometimes the best things in life happen when everything goes wrong." Eden felt her face burn, but she smiled. "This person," Edward continued, "showed me that laughing until you cry is better than trying to look serious all the time, that spilling coffee can be the beginning of a great story, and that true love is the kind that embraces every flaw, right side up or inside out." Then he knelt down in the middle of the lobby, pulled a small box from his pocket, and opened it. "Eden Collins, will you marry me and help me turn every day of my life into a beautifully chaotic romantic comedy?" The room erupted in applause and cheers. Lucy was crying like it was her own proposal. Eden, with tears in her eyes, took the microphone. "Only if I can keep wearing my dresses the wrong way." "Deal," Edward laughed. "And I promise never to complain." "Then it's a yes," she said. They kissed right there as guests tossed makeshift flower petals, which were actually cocktail napkins. The event turned into a double celebration, the company's annual gathering and the CEO's spontaneous engagement. Eden and Edward danced in the middle of the room, slipped, spilled juice on her dress, and laughed like nobody was watching. A few months later, the wedding happened, but of course, it wasn't a traditional one. Eden walked in with her veil caught on her shoe. Edward forgot half his vows, and the cake collapsed before they could even cut the first slice. But none of it mattered, because in the middle of the mess, the chaos, and the laughter, one thing was clear to everyone: they had found happiness in the most unexpected place. At the end of the night, as they danced barefoot under the twinkling lights of their makeshift dance floor, Edward leaned in and whispered in Eden's ear, "This was the most perfect wedding in the world. Even with my torn dress, the fallen cake, and my dad crying so much he fainted?" Eden asked. "Especially because of that." He smiled. Edward cupped Eden's face, both of them still laughing as the slow music played in the background. "With you, even chaos feels perfect," he said, his eyes shining. "Then get ready, because I'm a hurricane. she replied, pulling him in for a kiss filled with love, laughter, and the certainty that together they would always find a way to turn any disaster into the happiest moment of all. What did you think of Edward and Eden's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, what's your rating?